348 today. And we've been doing a lot of college wrestling coaches, a lot of cross country track coaches.
Yeah.
And then we've been dipping into the Shore Conference Wrestling Region 6 and New Jersey as well. So we've had Dave Bell, we've had Nace, we've had Ocone, we've had Nucci. Who else, Jim?
Justin
Borowski,
Steve Rivera.
So yeah, the people love the Shore Conference wrestling coverage, and I think it's something that you guys you deserve the shine. So we're highlighting those things, and we're having fun doing it. So we're gonna have a great conversation with you here.
Yeah, ready to go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back and we are live. And tonight we're stepping back on the mat. We're going to belly with a legend from the Jersey Shore. From Brook Memorial to TCNJ to the corner of every Shore Conference hammer, he's coached, lived, and wrestled it all. He's an NCAA Division III finalist. He's a sheriff by day, a wrestling mentor for life, and founder of Sure Thing Wrestling Club, a program that has produced dozens of champs and even more high-character humans. But before we get rolling, you know the drill. If you're following along on YouTube, make sure you are subscribed. Drop us a like. If you have any comments, any feedbacks, we would love to hear it. Every view, review, share helps grow and give back to the sports we love. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. And as always, this episode is fueled by CS Instant Coffee and Black Sheep Endurance Coaching. Let's not forget why we do this. It's a grassroots movement over here at Airey Bros Radio. We shine the light on the athletes, coaches, and mentors we wish we had access to growing up. If you're a student of the sport or a parent trying to find the right fit, please share this with a family, friend that needs to hear it. Wrestlers, parents, coaches, pull up a seat. Tonight we're live with the one and only Vinnie Santaniello. Couple of highlights for Vinnie. He's an NCAA Division III finalist, as I mentioned, for TCNJ back in 1997. He's a three-time New Jersey State Place winner for Brook Memorial High School. He's the founder and head coach of Sure Thing Wrestling Club, a club that has produced over 40 New Jersey State champions, 250 State Place winners, 40-plus college All-Americans, and as I mentioned, he's an Ocean County Sheriff as well, with over 25 years of coaching in the Shore Conference. Without further ado, it's been a long time coming. Vinnie Santaniello, we are honored to have you with us tonight. We do greatly appreciate your time. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm honored to be here. It's awesome. Thanks a lot, guys. It's going to be fun.
Well, Vin, before we get too far into it, if you have anything on social media, any place you would like us to direct people for the club, anything on Instagram, Facebook, any of those things, the floor is yours.
Oh yeah, we have Instagram is the Sure Thing Wrestling Club, and then the Facebook too. I don't really have a website or anything like that, but yeah, Sure Thing Wrestling Club, Instagram, and Sure Thing Wrestling Club on the Facebook. You guys,
awesome.
I'm not real good at updating it, but I get helped out a little bit.
That's all right. We all need help.
Yeah.
We'll put all that stuff in the show notes for you. And so, Vin, the way we like to start things off here with our New Jersey guests is probably the most important question we're going to ask you all night. I think we already know the answer, but we're going to ask you anyway. Is it pork roll or Taylor ham?
Pork roll. Yeah.
That's what we thought.
All right.
Vinny, another thing we like to do, we like to give through lines how we know our guests, kind of let our audience know how we have a relationship or how we came on their plate. Well, I can say that if it wasn't for you, we probably wouldn't be doing this podcast. Or we wouldn't be doing it about wrestling, because you gave me a really good opportunity as a young buck. I know you started Sure Thing in 1997, and I was there a couple months later at Fitness 2000, and you helped me on the come up with wrestling, high school and college. So that's how we know you. Rich and I, like Rich said before we hopped on, we've had some scraps. We've definitely had some scraps at Sure Thing Wrestling Club. But yeah, I've known you my whole life pretty much, and I'm super stoked to talk with you, kind of get the history of Sure Thing and your coaching story. So yeah, just wanted to kind of throw that out there so our audience knows how we know you and how we know the legend. And one thing Rich and I always say is you are the BJ Penn that no one knows about, because I had seen you whip up on some UFC signed contract fighters. I won't say any names, more than one, multiple times when they were getting ready for fights. So Rich and I always have stories of guys or Big Ten guys coming in and Vinny putting it on them.
Yeah, they were probably sucked out when I was doing that.
I don't know about that.
Oh no, yeah, they were being nice to me, most of them.
No,
Yeah. You're
The-
being humble.
yeah.
I
So
don't remember too many of them, but yeah, there were some days. There were some fun days, man. We had when the club first started, we had all those young guys were coming in, and they were all like, remember, they were all getting ready to become those UFC guys, and all of them now, I would say, 10 of them, 20 of them have jiu-jitsu schools. You know, they all made it pretty big. That those guys were there those years. It was awesome.
Vinny, when you first started at Fitness 2000, was your intent to have a club, or was it just going to be like a summer thing?
Well, when we first started, what happened was, like I tell everyone the same story. It was my cousin Casey Stalin needed a place to work out, so we were going to Brick Memorial, and we weren't really sneaking in. We were allowed to go in there, but then I was staying after with him, and he was a little kid. He was only maybe the 5th grade, and eventually we wind up there. The AD, Mr. Rayo, said, "Hey, look, you can't really come in here with the young kid. He's not really not allowed here." So what happened was John Powell was wrestling. He might have been in the 7th grade at the time, and his father owned Fitness 2000, and it was a spin class. And he said, "Look, or aerobics class." And he said, "He's like, we're getting kicked out." I said, so he said to me, "I got a little room that you guys can use and come in here and then help John and then help Casey." So we went in there and we were working out, and then people were just poking their head in. It started like almost like a babysitting class. Like parents would go there in the gym and be like, "Oh, this guy's doing wrestling in here. Can my kid come in?" So we would come in, and then Dale Powell finally said to me, he goes, "Why don't you just try to do a club here?" And he said, "Just whatever you get, give me half." So it was, I was like, okay. So I had no rent. It was, you remember Fitness 2000, it was small. So we wind up growing out of that like quick. And then it was like, I don't know if it was really fair for every person coming in, I was giving half. So we kind of made it a deal of, I'm going to pay him rent. And then from then on, it just got bigger and bigger. And that's probably not much longer. Do you come, Jesse Eslow, Eslow was my first high school kid. And then Kurt Pellegrino comes right over. He probably was a junior. I think Kurt comes his sophomore year, comes over. But we had a bunch of little kids at the time. But really no high school.
It was me and Maddie, and then there was like another kid, and maybe your cousin Chris might have came. Or I don't know if he was your cousin, but Janos, he would come when he was like super young.
Yep.
And then your cousin was in there. Mark Rosenfeld was in there.
He was a hammer. They were like, we knew they were going to be good. They were probably in the fourth or fifth grade at the time.
Yeah.
Yep. And John Powell probably was maybe a freshman. And you were probably only in the 7th grade.
I was like 4th, 5th. I was 4th grade going into 5th grade.
You were okay. Yeah. Because your brother was what were you, Richie? When my brother wrestled, you were a junior, right, that year?
Yeah.
And he was a freshman. So how did you have the club then?
No, that was 93.
Yeah. So it was. It's wow. Because he graduated 96, my brother. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that, and then that was the start of it. And then what happens is we kind of grow out of that place, and then we go to the furniture place, and then the furniture place was skinny. It was like long and skinny, and we were putting holes in the walls like crazy.
And there was like a church in front of it, right?
No, the furniture winds up being a church now.
Yeah, but wasn't the church in like? Because I thought like it was the back of something.
Yep. Yes, it was the back of a old furniture place. We'd go in the back of it because I guess that's where they would store. And then we'd go in there, but it was narrow, if you remember, long but narrow, not big at all. So we grow out of that. I'd say 3 years. And then we're in Pine Grove. Pine Grove, we stayed there for a while. That was a good place, but I didn't really have no really say there. Like it was a camp.
They move you.
They would move me in the summer, and then if they had like a play or something like that, they would take the wrestling room and there was a stage. So, and I couldn't really do what I wanted. I couldn't do clinics. I couldn't go there certain times. During the day I couldn't be there. I had to be there only at the times I rented the place. And then finally I moved to the industrial park in Lakewood, and that's where we've been forever now.
Well, I want to kind of get back to our outline, but you said you couldn't do camps and stuff. You had Timur Terry in there. You had Les Gutches in there.
Oh yeah, no, yes.
You had the dude who beat the one Brand's brother. Help me out here.
Alan Freed.
He used to come all the time.
Oh yeah.
Gene Mills was there.
Royce Alger.
Yep.
We got the guys because what was happening, but that would be on a Sunday. The time I was allowed to use it. You know what I mean? I wasn't allowed to be there. Like, if the summer camp was going, I couldn't be there because they would use it. They would actually have plays in there. So I couldn't just run in there anytime I wanted. We did have a ton of camps. So we did do that. Yeah. We brought a lot of guys in, man. I can't imagine. There's so many guys we brought in over there for throughout the years. And which is neat at the club now, which I don't know what I'm going to do if I ever get out of there. They all sign the wall. I mean, I don't have any college coach that comes in signs the wall for me. We have like over 200 college coaches' names in there. Problem is, what am I going to do when I leave? I got to take a piece of sheetrock with me. I can't. It's in permanent magic marker. It was a great idea when I started it. It's a bad idea now. What am I going to do with it when they all leave? When we leave there? But yeah, it's pretty neat. Pretty neat seeing all you guys growing up. I just can't believe how I got now. I'm starting to get like Kurt Pellegrino's son comes. You know what I mean? We got for now I'm getting kids that started with me. Their kids are coming, which is really, really crazy. Just shows you how old I am.
Well, I want to get into what that's like, but before we jump too far ahead, we also like to talk about the origin story. And I can remember coming up when I was younger, before I even got into high school, and everyone knew who you were, and there was always the talk of, your background in judo and how that was something that you were involved with, and, the foot sweeps and all those different things. So what's your origin story? How did you, was there other wrestlers in your family? How did you go? Yeah. How did you get to the judo? How did the judo lead to the wrestling? And then
I guess I was, I had the ADD. So my mom and dad were like, we're going to put you in. I was 4 years old. So really there wasn't many sports you could do. And, they put me in judo. It wasn't like karate. They didn't know anything about it. They probably thought it was a karate class, but I wanted to be in a judo class. Mr. Heiler, and he let me come. You're supposed to be 5 years old. But he let me come, and did that forever till I was like 14 years old. I didn't start wrestling until the 7th and 8th grade. And the only reason I started wrestling was because I used to make the national finals in judo. And this guy named Jimmy Pedro, who wound up being a 4-time Olympian. He was one of the greatest judo players going. Used to just pull me to the ground and then hold me down. And I had no clue how to wrestle. He would half me over, and I would go over and he would hold me down. And so I would take second in all those tournaments. And my coach said, look, you got to learn how to wrestle. So I went out for the wrestling team in 7th grade, started wrestling. I really liked it. And then didn't go back to judo because what happened was I got talked into about doing all right in wrestling. So they said, you only have a certain amount of years to do wrestling. You could do judo whenever you want. Go back to it. And I really did like wrestling because it was new to me. So I wrestled, all the way through school, went back to judo for like 1 or 2 more years. And then my judo coach passed away. So I kind of got out of that. And then I was going to college and started wrestling in college. I went to Lock Haven first. In 3 years at Lock Haven, and then transferred that 1 year to TCNJ, and that's where that was my wrestling and judo. But judo was really what made me a halfway decent wrestler. You know what I mean? I would get lucky and catch people in high school, and people started getting a little bit nervous how I wrestled because I didn't wrestle. I'm not a wrestler, so so I got lucky a little bit.
I wouldn't say you were catching them. You were doing exactly what you knew what to do. They just didn't know what was coming or what hit them.
Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, it was fun, And then I had to develop into a better wrestler too. My boys now, when they watch old tapes, they're like, "Oh my God, Dad, you stance stinks. We would have killed you. I'm like, yeah, you probably would have. But back then
I don't know about that. I got my money on you, Vin, with a foot sweep from out of nowhere with no ties.
Yeah. I got good at that later in life. I got good at that one. You couldn't hit your knees no more.
Vin, you mentioned, starting in 7th grade, you had some legendary coaches, and you were part of, I guess it was the come up of Brick Memorial. Can you kind of go into wrestling for Coach Caravelli and what those Brick Memorial teams were like? It was before my time, but Rich talks about it a lot. That was kind of like the glory days of the beginning of the short conference, right?
Yeah. Well, those guys actually, I would say 1985. So I don't get in there until 87. So 85, I think Brick Memorial started getting pretty good. It only opened in 1983. So about 1985, and I don't think they lost in 83, but 1985, I think they take third place in the states. Back then you would wrestle if you lost in the semifinals, you would wrestle for third in the groups. So that's when I started following wrestling. So I was going to the wrestling match, it was neat. And then in 86, they had a great team. That team wound up being number one in the state. They were 19-0, number 4 in the country. And so they put short conference on the map. I think it was the first team ever in the short conference to be number 1. In the state. And Townsville South and all those guys back in the day were great, but there wasn't a state tournament, I don't think. So, I don't know where they were ranked, but Brick Memorial was the first team to win a group or even I think a sectional title. And then when I was in school, we won the short conference every year, and we were already established by the time I got there, and we were we were taking on New Jersey. It wasn't the short. We were much better than the short conference teams. We didn't really have a team to say, okay, we're wrestling these guys. Tondra Reese, Mr. Reed they had some great teams. And they would be maybe the team that would be like, okay, we got to beat Tondra Reese. But after 86, we went and I think they won 13 short conferences in a row. And we were just battling. We just started thinking about, the Peaburgs and the Paulsboroughs and those guys, High Points. That was our goal, to be number 1 in the state. So my 4 years, we won the state championship, but we were never ranked number 1. We were ranked number 2, number 4. I think my senior year, my junior year, we were 35-0, and we got picked off in the semifinals. We were winning 25-0, and they came back and beat us 35-25, High Point. And then after that, a couple more teams were number 1 in the state. And then now it's just, the short conference is so good. It was Southern, Jackson, CBA. These teams are, legitimately just great teams now. They're all really, really good. Back then it was just us. Now it's a lot more than just us.
You mentioned the school opened in 83 and it was pretty quick, a rise. What was it about the program? Was it the feeder program? Was it the Brick Mat Rats? Yeah. Was it coaching?
It was Mr. Caravella and DeAndre. What they did was, I think at that time, Mr. Reed probably was one of the only coaches that wrestled in college. Now, Mr. Reed was a 2-time All-American at Oklahoma, and then I think everyone else was more like a gym teacher, you know what I mean? It's a regular coach, maybe a football coach, coaching wrestling. And then Caravella came over, and he was an All-American for Bloomsburg. So he had a system. We were only allowed to do certain things. Brick Memorial wrestled, every guy wrestled almost the exact same. We threw legs on top, look for a cradle and I call it it was called a Chirella back then. I called it a T-bar tilt. And then, and we would try to banana split people, all legs and stuff, how he wrestled. But we all wrestled the exact same. We all did the exact same moves, and it was a system learning from an All-American, and he built the program up. And then by the time, I got out of there, I think we just had tough kids in Brick. And what happened was it was more just, kids refused to lose. They just carried that tradition on for so long, and we just thought we were better than everybody. I don't know if we were, but we were. I know one year when my brother was on the team, Caravella, I'll never forget it. They were wrestling Jefferson, and the JV score was kind of close. I think Jefferson was number 1 in the state, number 1 in the country at the time. And I remember walking from college, coming home. My brother's on the team in Caravel. The Rossetti goes up to him. Oh, you guys that was a good JV match. He goes, I'll sign up for that score on the varsity. You're going to kill us. So I'm like, oh, are we going to lose that bad? He goes, I think so. And our boys went out there, and I think they lost like by 3 points. You know what I mean? They wrestled. He was just he had his dotted his, crossed his T's and dotted his I's. He had everything prepared for all. Everyone knew what the guy was going to do back then. He was a little bit ahead of his time. Caravel at that time.
Yeah. He was ahead of his time and a college wrestler, and he probably had the best assistants in the state as well, too, who were both former head coaches as well at top-notch programs.
Yes. I didn't have DeMarco. DeMarco wasn't there when I was there. He comes in later. Mr. DeAndrew was there with us, like you said, and he had an established program at Manalapan before we got there, and and he brought the toughness. Caravello brought the technique, and he brought the toughness, and I don't think he showed a move, but whatever he just made everyone on our team tougher. So we were tough brick kids.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. And that's how like Point Borough, you guys, bunch of just tough Point Borough kids. And always, every year they're just tough and they're good. That's those kind of kids stick around forever. And that's what makes teams, always pretty good.
And now all those tough kids have had their own kids, and now they're probably coming through the same system like your sons.
Yeah. That was neat. That was Dana Cohn. Like we didn't know what we were going to do. And when Dana Cohn took over Brick Memorial, and kept that program going, in the direction. They said, got lucky with all the coaches they had. And I lived on the Brick side, and we were going to go to Brick Township. That's where we were going. My daughter went to Brick Township, and he called me up and said, how do you not bring your kids to the school you went to? And I was like, well, and then we asked the boys, and they said, it's Anthony. They said that we want to go to Brick Memorial. So we're like, all right, we'll get you in Brick Memorial. They wound up going because, as you guys know, Brick has 2 schools, 2 towns, and I was all geared up to send the boys to Brick, and hopefully with Talmadge and all those guys. But what happens is they all end up at Brick Memorial together. So it worked out right, for us. And now the boys got their name on the Brick Memorial board, which is pretty neat.
That is cool.
Yeah.
So one question, probably a lot of people that are listening to know the legend of Brick Memorial back in the old days. We're always curious, as people that used to come to the matches, and something that is a tradition that's carried on throughout the decades. Where did sympathy for the devil come from?
I don't know. I really don't know. It was there when I got there. I know they had a bunch of crazy brick kids. The first couple teams were just like guys out of the hallways, and maybe what we would call potheads or something. I don't know. It came out and it's stuck forever. That's it. And it's not even like my boys. That was mine and my wife's wedding song. Like that's what we came out to at our wedding.
That's amazing.
We came out to Simply for the Devil. Yeah. So that was pretty neat. So when the boys hear it, even my boys now, it's pretty neat. I know when, my friends, when they hear it, it brings you back.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up a little bit.
But if you think about it, it's really not a super motivating song. It's just if you don't know it's a Brick Memorial song, you wouldn't be like, okay, it's a cool song, but because it's what you guys know of it and hearing it and coming out to that gym back then. And we had 2,000 people at our matches. It was sold out every time we wrestled, so that was great. That was the heyday of the wrestling in that gym was awesome.
Yeah.
Vin, you said Coach Caravelli had a system and you all kind of wrestled the same and you knew what Brick Memorial kids were going to do. Now, one thing I could say is, and it might be different these days, right? But you go to Sure Thing, you're going to have an outside single no matter what. Even if you're not an offensive wrestler, you're going to have a great outside single. You're going to be good on the mat because we're going to wrestle. We're going to start top, bottom every practice. And you're going to be able to scramble. That said, if you have a kid from Sure Thing, you can't say, oh, he's going to do this. He's going to do that, right? You have a kid from certain clubs, an elbow post is coming, a front head's coming. How do you kind of keep that where kids have their own style, right? You're teaching them things, but there's not a system where you wrestle a sure thing kid, you know he's going to do this.
No, I'm look. I'm gonna go over like we're gonna wrestle hard on the mat, right? Everyone, the way I look at it, this is you go to a practice, right? We're gonna drill on our feet. We're gonna drill. How many moves are there? The high crotch, double leg, sweep, single. Then I want you to go, hey, duck under ankle pick, underhook. You pick out your fourth one. You're gonna know a high crotch, a double leg, and a sweep single. We're going to go over ankle picks. We're going to go over duck unders. We're going to go over fireman's carries. We're going to go over all this other stuff. But hey, now you pick that fourth one. Because we're only going to, I always go high crotch, double, sweep, anything you want. You know what I mean? That's how kind of we drill. But we'll teach all of them. And I always tell people like Jordan Beverly, like I had a really good cradle, right? I had a cradle. I showed Jordan that cradle. He mastered it. You know what I mean? Like you put your spin on. Oh, I like that move. I'm going to put my spin on it. And just because I teach it this way, hey, look, go figure out how you like to do it. I'll teach you the move, but you're better than me at it. So, you know what I mean? Because you like to do it this way. That's fine. And I don't have a problem with that stuff. Like a lot of coaches are like, hey, this is how we do it. This is what we do. Right? Well, nobody can do what you like. Everyone has their own take on a move, right? And I have no problem saying, hey, I like to do this. Hey, no, if you like it that way, do it that way. Frankie Molinaro, when he would do a private, and he was a righty, and he would come in and he would always be in his left stance. He had a left foot lead always, and he'll even tell you this story. I said, what you're a righty. What are you doing? He goes, I shoot better this way. I said, all right, well, here's the deal. We're not going to switch our feet until you master it. You want to be a lefty. You're going to be, if you're more comfortable being a lefty, you're going to be a lefty the whole time until you master something. Stop worrying about righty and lefty. Master something first, right? So he wind up having an unbelievable left side high crotch, and he wasn't a lefty, but his best shot is a lefty high crotch. And I don't know if he had anything righty. He would hit a lefty high crotch on everybody and master it. And I never forget the day doing a private lesson with him, probably about 10 years old. And I said, this is what you're going to do. And he did. He stuck with that and put his spin on it. I wasn't going to tell him, no, you have to do this. He likes this one better. Okay, this is what you're going to do. Because I would show him, Frank, you're doing it wrong. Why are you stepping this foot? You keep stepping the wrong way. And he's like, I know, but I like to lead this leg first. I said, well, kick a ball. And he kicked it right. I said, well, you're a righty. And he goes, yeah, but I shoot better this way. I'm like, okay, then let's do that. Yeah, that was a fun day. And he actually brought that up to me one time when we were talking. I talked to him a lot. And he brought that up to me in the room. It was pretty neat that he remembered it.
So one other thing with the technique I want to get into, it was the fall of 2003, and you taught a funk roll. And I thought it was absolute junk, but Sean Burns thought it was the greatest thing ever. And because I wrestled him all the time, I had to get good at it. But my question to you is, you said that, I believe it was a kid from TCNJ that you picked it up from. Do you remember who that was?
Oh, yeah. He just came to the club the other day. I gave him credit, too. I said, hey, Dave Valeria. He was just at the club a couple weeks ago. And I said, you won a national title with a funk roll. And, I was watching it. I saw years ago, a kid wrestle my brother, and he hit him with a funk roll. I never knew the move. I didn't even know it was called a funk roll. He hit this move. I go, that's really weird. What is he doing? And then I saw it again by that Hilaria kid. He was a lot younger than me, and he wanted to win a Division III national title, and he hits it. So I said, show me that. So he shows it to me, and then I said, all right, it's a pretty cool move. I brought it back to the club, and I told you guys, if you forget, it's a crap move, but it works on people. And I said, and then Sean Burns, you're right, just kept doing it. I said, Sean, you're not going to win matches if it's all you're going to do is funk roll.
Skyrocketed.
He winds up being a state champion, right? Goes and wins a New Jersey state title, gets scholarship wherever he wanted to go, and he winds up going to Newberry because I think they get a Division II school. But at the time, I think they were number one.
Yeah.
So not number one or number two. So, and I gave him the most money. He went where the most money was, but he was so hard to take down. Beat Steve Santos in the state finals. Steve Santos winds up going third from Columbia. They were workout partners at the club all the time. And you were really good at the funk roll too, though, Jim.
Well, I had to get good at it because of Sean, and I used it for a whole year and never hit it in a match till my senior year. And then once I started hitting it in a match in my senior year, it was off to the races. Because back then, it was a secret weapon. No one knew about it back then.
I tell people don't believe me, but I think, honestly, God, I think our club was the first guy to start hitting that in Jersey.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
We would get it. We kind of brought that, and Sean Burns really, yeah, you and Sean Burns, you guys mastered it. And what, you wind up getting placed in the States, probably saved you a couple times. I know it saved Sean. You know what I mean? Saved Sean. He was great on top, and nowhere he was really good too. People didn't realize if you put in legs, he was
It'd pin you.
yeah,
Yeah.
he'd pin you. And then the semifinals, his junior year, he pins the kid because I think he would have lost that one. He gets the kid and pins him, and then that was his junior year. And the senior year, he just, it was him and Steve the whole way.
Yeah, and to that point, because that was 2003, and Sean was a senior in 2008. And 2008 was, I felt like, the coming out party for the Region 6. We had like 6 champions, and that's when scrambling kind of took off. And they took off so much that they had to change the rules where, exposure points and things like that. But to your point, and maybe because I'm a homer, because I'm a sure thing guy, but I think it started at sure thing.
Well, Larry started it, but right, we're the first ones to have a bunch of kids here. I don't think even his teams, I didn't see another guy ever do it. Just him, and they weren't doing it at TCNJ or weren't doing it in the. Well, I don't know how many guys probably were doing it in Division I. Probably someone was, but it wasn't out there like it is now. It's crazy. And those guys, and then we had about 12 or 14 kids hitting it, but not as good as you guys. But they were doing it. They were doing it, and I just get so mad. I didn't like it. I'd never forget. I told I said, "Come on, Sean, this is not number one. No one can stop it." I'm like, they're gonna stop it. It's not a good move. Shut me up.
Well, talking about that and going back to Coach Caravella with his system, and a lot of coaches have systems, but because of the wrestling clubs in New Jersey and how popular that is, it's like no other place in the country. I think you have things that you're allowing kids to be creative and work on their moves, and you show your technique, but hey, if you can develop a little bit different, do you hear about it sometimes from people that have systems, or even maybe like dads or parents that especially like from a scrambling perspective, when you're showing a new move, and probably it went wrong for a couple kids along the way.
Oh, yeah. Well, I tell the kids, I mean, when we go over something, I guess I do have a system, like, you know what I mean? I do have like a progression, you know what I mean? Like, but we're going to go, I let you do kind of what you like about it. But I always tell the kids, hey, look, this could be your favorite move. Might not be today, but what you got to do is you got to fail 100 times in the wrestling room, right? I don't want to, most guys aren't going to try a move they learned yesterday in a match, right? Because it wins and losses, and they worry about that. But don't be afraid to fail in practice, right? You go in practice, we should learn a move. That should be the move you're trying to hit today in practice. And then you know what? That move is going to become your favorite move. Eventually, once you start hitting it, you're going to wind up liking it. You're going to fail, almost get it, fail, almost get it, almost get it, fail, get it, almost get it, and then all of a sudden your favorite move. You know what I mean? Like, that's how it works. And I tell them, hey, let's fail here. Fail in short thing. Worry about that. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll say, all right, we're wrestling just for high crotch. You can't get another move. If that's what we're working on today, wrestling for a high crotch. I don't mind letting you get a go behind. The guy shoots high crotch, it's 1 point. If you get to his legs, it's 2 points. If you take him down, it's 3 points. You know what I mean? And keep scoring. If you don't shoot, it's a -1. We did that the other day at practice. Like, you got to, take him down, whatever we're learning. Or, take him down, and you need to put a leg in. There's nothing else we're doing today. You're going to take the guy down, and you're going to try to get a leg in. If you get a leg in, you win the match like a pin. And then don't worry about the result. And so I guess we do have a system because I'm a cradle guy. We do throw legs. They'll ride their legs, tilts. And then on her feet, like I said, high crotch double sweep, and then you pick your next couple. But we're going to show you all of them. You pick what you like, and I'll give you the time to drill it.
How do you navigate the water of teaching kids that it's okay to fail in the room, especially in a room with such high-level kids where somewhere down the road at some point, these kids are going to cross paths, whether it's districts or regions, or maybe in a dual meet or states. And ego is such a big thing, especially with teenagers. How do you navigate that water and teaching the kids it's okay to experiment here and it's okay to fail here? Like, even just because a guy got a leg up on you today doesn't necessarily mean the same thing's going to happen in the match.
Well, no, what I always tell them, the perfect way I tell the guys, people worry about workout partners. It's always, I got to get a good workout partner. I got to have a good workout. Well, anyone's a good workout partner, right? So here's the way I look at it. It's like, if I wrestle somebody and I'm trying my best move and I'm failing, right? And I'm losing on my best move. That means I'm losing, right? Because I'm trying my best move. He's shutting it down. He's better than me today. And now I'm going to be upset about that. So when I say, that's why I always tell guys, hey guys, man, if you take a guy down one time with a high crotch, it's your best move. You hit to go down with a high crotch. He knows you don't go easy. Go for your second and third best moves now. And then, you got a built-in, not to say excuses, because excuses aren't right, but now you have excuse. Oh, he beat me today. You know why? I was shooting my second, my third move. I didn't even go to my number one today. So I say I never had a bad practice. I mean, if I wrestled Jimmy when he was 80 pounds, I was going as hard as I can, working on my duck under. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm going to go for today. Because I know I can take you down my high crotch. I know I can take you down my sweep single, but I'm not going to go easy on you because I'm not going to ruin my practice. I'm going to go and try my duck under today. And that's all I'm going to try to get on you. So now I'm going as hard as I can and never taking a day off. And you're coming after me good. And if you do take me down, that's because I was trying my duck under. That's the way I tell the kids. Hey, you have a built-in excuse. Tell dad, tell mom. Because, sometimes they're mad at you, you're not wrestling good. Yeah, well, I was practicing something. And what do they say then? They can't say, well, it's okay. Okay, good. That's why I took you here, to learn something.
Yeah.
So there's always, I try to tell these kids, like, I never say, hey, you're getting, I'll joke around like, oh, he threw a nice takedown, kidding around, joking around. Oh, you're getting your butt beat today. But you guys know, we kind of have a pretty laid back club, and it's very competitive, and they grind, they battle, and it's live. They go after it, but it's more just getting better. It's all I want to get: technique and position. You get that down, you're gonna be hard. You're gonna be hard to beat because everyone gets tough.
Yeah.
Everybody becomes tough. We're wrestlers; they become tough. Toughness is gonna come out no matter what. People say it doesn't, but it's gonna come out. If you wrestle long enough, you're gonna be tough.
You have to.
Yeah. That's just the way of the sport. But if you don't have the technique, and you don't have the desire, then you're not. It's not going to work.
No.
Vin, I'm curious. You started the club in '97. You were in the national finals that that February, that March, and then had the club for about 10, 15 years, and then your kids went through it, both boys, state champs. How has your coaching philosophy changed throughout that time, and then being a parent, and how has it changed being a parent?
Oh, yeah, it's it was fun, having the boys there. When Vincent first started, he wasn't like he liked wrestling, but he was a pretty good athlete. He played a couple other sports, and all the way through, Vincent played a lot of sports. But he wasn't like he was like a little bit of a sore sport. He didn't like to lose, but he did lose. Not all the time. He won more than he lost, but he wasn't one of the best guys out there in middle school. He was in the Airey, he was very good. In the state, he was just one of those guys. Like, I tell everyone the story. I said it last time. He's seventh grade. He qualified for states, took third, and he didn't want to go. He's like, I'm not going to go. That day of the states, it's like, come on, we got the states. He's like, Dad, I'm not going to go. I took third in the qualifier. You think I'm going to do good? I said to myself, you're probably right. You know what I mean? So you don't want to go? No big deal. See, what I don't like about wrestling now is everyone's looking all-star teams, hard tournaments. You got to do this, you got to do that. Parents are 15 different places, going crazy. I feel like it's a slow grind. It's a slow sport. You're going to be good if you do anything. If you ride a bike for 5 years, you start riding a bike, you're nervous, you fall off it. In 5 years, you're going no hands. You know what I mean? You're riding no hands, you're riding backwards, you're not afraid to do over a jump. So you're going to be good. Just stick with, don't worry about going to every hard tournament. Go winning sometimes helps you. So if my son went to that state tournament, went 0-2, is that really going to help him? So I didn't care. It wasn't like he had to be there. And then, maybe go to an easier tournament, win a couple matches, get confidence. But then you do need your grinding of some matches. You do need to get put down a little bit so you know where you stand. So I had no problem with that. And then Anthony liked it. Anthony was different. Anthony wanted to, go to tournaments. We never did any of the super hard ones, but he liked going in. The better the guy was, the more he wanted to wrestle. The better the guy was, the less Vincent got nervous, and then he got over it. And by the time he got to high school, he was beating a lot of the guys that used to easily beat him. So yeah, it was fun having those guys in the room though. Keeps you motivated. Like I'd never, I'd be like, hey, I'm going to club. And my wife was huge part of it. Like the boys were like, I'm not going to club today. And I knew they should. So I would just be like, hey, boys, okay, guys, don't go to club. I was always the good guy. Boys, don't go to club today. And I would walk by my wife and be like, boys don't want to go to club today. She's like, what? And I would leave. I would be waiting in the club. 5 minutes later, the boys would be walking in. I'm like, what's the matter? Dan Gable made me come to club. I'm like, oh, Mom? Yeah, she's making us come. I'm like, all right. But I knew that was going to happen. She had him in the car, drove him to club. So it was easy for me because that's where I was going. And it was easy for Christy because she was helping us out. And the boys would just be there all the time. And they got to see guys like, they followed all these really good guys. I mean, they were little, but all these guys, they get to watch wrestle. So they grew up with them. And a lot of these guys help them, along the way. It wasn't just us. It was the club made my two boys good. And then they made other kids good. And, that's why I try to get it where it's like, it's not about you. You're my best 8th grader. I'll let you come to the high school class, but you have to come to the 6th grade class because you got to help those guys. Yeah, that's the only way you get better. But there's nobody good in the 6th grade room. Yeah, and there was nobody good when guys came down for you. You weren't good yet. And they would come down and try to keep it that way and just keep it going. So
during the season, do you change the way you run practices and stuff, knowing kids are getting double practices in? And are you telling kids, hey, maybe you shouldn't come? Because I know junior year, I was going to club all the time. And then senior year during the season, I kind of backed off and I would come and just kind of, I don't want to say half-assed it during the season, but I wasn't going as hard as I was senior year. And then once district, states, and regions came, I wasn't even coming to the club because I learned from the prior years.
Yeah, we the last couple years it stayed packed. Like last couple years it stayed packed, but I toned it down. I try not to get involved in that stuff. Like when kids come in, what weight should I go? Like they ask me all the time, like, hey, what weight should I be at? What I fear them getting hurt at the club, you know what I mean? And then saying that a coach being like, hey, well, you're going short thing, you got hurt there, So we tone it down time wise. Maybe we're only going to go an hour, but we're gonna drill more. We're gonna get instead of a 20-minute live, we're only doing an 8-minute live, a 9-minute live. Because some kids do need it because some kids don't come from don't have that kind of push. So yeah, we tone it down more the length because I know you're practicing twice, but I tell the boys, hey, look, I want you to come to the club so you can eat, so you can drink. Like use my club as to get better, but also use it as, hey, after practice, I weighed 120. Go home, get up to 122, get up to 123. Either one you want. Come back to us, get down to 121, go to bed. You're going to be under You're going to be under what you were. Use our club to go eat more and go drink more, and don't worry about your diet. Come get better. It's much better, being miserable with 20 people than it is being miserable running by yourself. You kind of quit on yourself a little bit, So I tell them use the club to be able to eat and drink and do that. And we're going to go over what we think you should be doing and keep that technique sharp. I do think it's important because I tell the kids this all the time. Wrestling club in New Jersey is the norm. It's not extra anymore. It used to be extra. I go to club. I'm better than this guy. Now it's everyone goes to club. What are you doing besides a club? Are you running? You guys went to club and ran, right? And that was way more than everyone else did. People just did their practice. But now everyone's going to a club. Every single kid is going somewhere and doing 2 practices. So now you got to do something extra. Maybe you have to go get on a bike and run. It's wrestling. It's getting tougher and tougher. And sometimes you hate the way individual sports are going. Like it's you're not be able to play every single sport. You got to really concentrate on wrestling now. It's a long grind. That's what I think you see a lot of injuries in college. Like Vincent, who knows, maybe because he's wrestled so many practices and stuff like that. That's why he's getting so injured this year. I don't know, but a lot of guys you see, and maybe the coverage is much better, but there's been a lot more greater injuries in college wrestling, like season-ending injuries, than there used to be. Maybe because they have so many matches under their belt, and parents, all-star matches, going to every hard tournament. You're like a running back. How many matches you have in you? I want to waste mine in, I guess, my college and high school years. That's what I try to tell the kids.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's definitely a lot of injuries this year, and we've talked to a bunch of coaches, and there's not one particular thing. Some happen at practice, some happen in matches. It's not necessarily like an ego thing. Sometimes you get in positions you don't want to give up in the practice room. It's just a lot of times it's just a freak thing.
Yeah.
But you definitely see that. But on the college side of it, though, you've definitely seen the matches drop. I'm sure in '97 when you made the finals, you probably had 35, 40 matches, if not more. Whereas now, some guys are getting to the NCAA finals and they've got 20, 25 matches.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, it's just the grind. Everyone's good. Everyone's so good. Division I, they're I don't care who you back up, whoever you're wrestling is a state champ, best on their high school team, right? Yeah. Best kid out of in their town. So everyone you're wrestling with, even in Division III, if you're wrestling in college, you were most likely the best on your team, one of the best on your team. You were one of the elite guys. You were one of the better guys. So yeah, and I just think not giving up positions and fighting through everything, funking like that, all that funk roll and stuff is twisting knees, and it's a grind. People think football's a grind, wrestling's a grind.
No doubt. Vin, I got one last one for you. I'm sure Jimmy has one. I'm curious. You have elementary school kids, you have middle school kids, you have high school athletes. How do you approach each practice differently? I'm teaching in high school. I talk to elementary school teachers and they're like, I don't know how you do that. That's crazy. And I'm like, well, I don't know how you do that. That's crazy, but you do it all. So how do you navigate those water, and how is the approach different for you?
Fun. You got to make it fun. It's just coming in the room and, reading the room. Sometimes I have a game plan, what I want to go over. And after we start warming up, we're doing something different. I wanted to do bottom today, and all of a sudden, we're doing doubles and high crotches. But it's just fun, and make sure that I don't really have a game plan. I just love it. I love being there, and the harder they work, the more you get into it. You know that the better the practice, the more you're into it, and the worse the practice is, you got to find a way to make it a good practice. So you got to keep yourself. I try to just keep these kids going and figure it out how to adjust to them.
Vin, last one I got for you before we get in the Final Four. One thing you said to me in the fall of 2004, I was going through a rough patch, and I will never forget this. I use it with me in my life daily. You said to me, regret is the worst feeling to have in the world. You told me a story about when you were at Lock Haven and then you left and you were looking through the paper at the NCAA tournament. You saw a bunch of guys that you grew up with wrestling, and they were wrestling and you weren't wrestling at the time. And you said, regret is the worst feeling to have. You're better off going and not winning and not getting there and knowing that you did everything you could than sitting back and regretting that you didn't take all the opportunities you had. So I don't really know if that was the question, but I just want to thank you for saying that to me, because I've kept it with me my whole life since you've said it.
Oh yeah, man! Like nothing's more painful than regret, right? And yeah, that's what everyone goes through. That's a tough one. But yeah, you got not much that you regret. You finished through everything. There's a couple things you're going to regret in life, but you did a great job, and you stick by that and just say, hey, look, I don't want to regret this, and get through it. Whatever it is. Sometimes winning, it's great, but finishing something out is much better, right? because you never know what could happen. At least you finish.
Yeah, it's the lessons too, right? It's like so cliche. When you're a kid, you just want to win. Like we were talking about practices before. I didn't know how to practice when I was coming up.
No.
I wanted to win every practice, right? I didn't know I needed to go and work on this. And now, as an older man, I'm like, maybe I should have worked on some of those takedowns that I was having trouble with or things like that. But you learn that in the process of everything. And one last thing I want to say, I know we said, oh, kids are open, there's no system, that sure thing, but I will say this. You grab my wrist to this day, you're getting duck under.
Yeah, we got that still. All right. Yes. Yeah, I like it.
All right.
We even see kids putting their wrist out there for kids.
Oh,
now.
yeah. We try. That's what we do. We do have a couple secrets, right?
Yeah, the double under, bring them to their knees, pancake.
Yeah.
Yep.
Vincent was good. Yeah, we got a couple secrets.
Stand up, both hands inside the thighs, drive them forward when they go to stand up from the bottom.
Yeah, double thigh pry.
Yep.
Yeah, good. You still remember.
Oh, you know it.
Thank you, guys, man.
We got 4 more for you, Vin. They're real quick, though. We ask everyone, and they're pretty fun, just lighthearted ones.
Okay.
Vin, are you a coffee drinker?
Yes, I guess. In the morning, 1 coffee.
How do you brew it? How do you take it?
Black. In a pot. Is that what you mean? Yeah, just store coffee, and black.
Vinny, do you have any daily practices or rituals you do on a regular basis to show up as the strongest version of Vinnie Santaniello?
No, you know what I do? What Mickey Mantle said. You got it. I try to use it as someone's watching you for the first time. Try to make it your best time every time. That's kind of what so when I go there, I'm like, hey, someone's coming to the club for the first time. Let's make sure we do it right.
Vin, what are you listening to right now? Music, podcasts, audiobooks? Are you reading anything?
Country music, and then I'm starting to like these podcasts. Yeah, I don't do them, but I like watching them.
What kind of country you get down with?
Oh, we like Zach Brown, Zach Bryant. All the new stuff, the stuff that's out there. Me and my wife hit about 2 or 3 country concerts a summer.
All right. You like Morgan Wallen?
Yeah, she likes Morgan Wallen more than I do. He's good.
Yeah.
No, he's good. Luke Combs was really good. We saw him. He was great.
Okay. You go to the Arts Center, or where are you going? Wherever they're at?
Yeah, we got. I think we're going to Dirks Bentley. We're going to Zach Bryant with the kids. The whole family's going to Zach Bryant. And I think she's looking for. We had Morgan Wallen. Something happened. Did he get canceled last year? Morgan Wallen. Something happened. I think we had them. I don't know why. We didn't see him. We saw a lot though. We're pretty good at it now.
Okay. You ever hear Charlie Crockett?
Was he good?
Yeah. Check him
Great.
out.
All right.
I like him. He's got a little bit of that old school flair to him.
Okay. Yeah, I will definitely. Charlie Crockett.
Out of Dallas, I believe.
Okay.
Texas
Good.
guy.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah. We the other day they made fun of me because I put on Toby Keith. It was tribute to Toby Keith, but it was old. My daughter's like, "What are we watching?" I'm like, "Toby Keith, tribute to Toby Keith." She goes, "When was this?" I go, "I don't know." She's like, "You're watching an old concert?" I was like, "Yeah, it's pretty neat on TV." So it was fun.
Nice.
Vin, you got music in the club now, or is it?
Well, the kids, they're allowed. They put, I mean, I don't, but they put it on everyone. Like today, before I was there, they had it blasted. Usually when I go, I'll say, turn that crap off. Because half the stuff they listen to, I don't like. So I tell them, get that off. They put country on, but a lot of kids don't want to listen to country. I got to do what I like.
My club, my choice.
Yeah, right. Right.
Vin, last one we got for you. Close it out. We know people in Jersey, they love their food. There's a lot of great breweries in the area. Do you have a guilty pleasure?
I don't know.
You got a sweet tooth?
Oh yeah, awful. That's bad. I'm too much candy. That's why. Yeah, too much.
What do you like? Chocolate, or are you doing
chocolate, anything? But yeah, chocolate. Yeah. The Snickers. Yeah. Not good. Throw a candy bar in front of my face, I'm eating it.
You got a pint of Ben & Jerry's in the freezer?
Yeah, yes, yes. Actually, we do. Yeah. Oh boy. Oh, what is it called? Half baked.
Yeah,
All right. Yeah.
that's a good one.
Vinny, thank you so much for your time, sir. It's been way too long.
Yeah, thank you.
And I just want to thank you for all you did for me growing up. There's a lot of lessons that I take with me daily and have gotten through my life because of things I've learned at the club, and just the opportunity you gave me to go and kind of develop a style and who I was on a wrestle mat. So thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me on. And hey, by the way, how's mom and dad doing?
Good.
Good?
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, good.
crazy as ever.
Yes, tell them I said hello.
We will. They're probably watching.
Yeah, all right. All right.
Yeah, Vinny, like Jimmy said, it's been great to catch up. It's great to see you. This has been a long time coming. We're glad we got it in and got to catch up. So we do really appreciate your time. Keep doing what you're doing for the sport and keep doing what you're doing for the Shore Conference.
Oh, thank you so much, guys, man. It's really glad you guys reached out.
Absolutely.
Means a
All
lot.
right, ladies and gentlemen, that's Vinnie Santaniello from Shore Thing Wrestling Club. We'll put all those links in the show notes. So if you are in the greater Shore Conference area, Ocean, Monmouth County, and you're looking for a wrestling club, make sure you go check out Shore Thing. They're doing a lot of great things. They've been doing it for over 2 decades now. We hope you have a great week and a great weekend. We'll be back next week. On Monday, we'll be joined by Pete Riley from Riley Wrestling Club in Howe. And then we're branching out a little bit. We've done some Pennsylvania colleges, but we have Pete Clymer from Faith Christian Academy joining us, the #1 team in Pennsylvania, and I believe also the #1 team in the country. So we're excited to hear a little bit more about Pennsylvania high school